All right. Good evening once again. Yeah, welcome. So, I think we are still on the Python OOPS, which is Python object-oriented language or programming. I think this was our last class activity. Somebody should confirm that. Yeah, I think this should be the last class activity. Let me run the code so that we have only talked about the attributes. We are here to implement the method. Remember that we started looking at Python. What was the main topic? Constructing objects and assessing their attributes. I think that was the last topic under which we have done for attributes. Constructing objects and assessing their attributes. Sorry. Constructing objects and assessing their attributes and methods. So I gave an illustration. Remember that we are still on Python. We are still on the class concepts, class and object. So since it has been a while, I think the revision can start from constructing objects and assessing their attributes. So I use a car for the illustration, that very class, that what the car has, they are referred to as the attributes, while the function of the car are referred to as the method. So if you remember, we imported a class and we store it in an object called my screen. And then we supply the attributes, which is the curve height, which outputted this 300. So we are to continue from adding a method, which is the function, which will help us to display the screen. So just as we have it on the screen, we say okay, so we imported Turtle. Remember that we are still working with that package. We imported Turtle and the screen. So these are the two classes. And then the next step is that we store the screen in an object called my screen. And then we printed my screen dot the height of the screen, which outputted this particular value. I remember that the Turtle that we are working on is already package or module that you have once you install your PyCharm. Remember, we talk about different module, how you can import module from another file and use the properties or the attributes in that module. So I told her that this particular module is already built in the IDE, the PyCharm that we are using. So we do not need to go and import it from Python library. So it's already incorporated here. So I will just start from adding method. Let me see where I'll pick it from. So let's start with object method. Object method. Now, just to explain further, when we talk about the object method, we are talking about the function. Remember that this curve height is simply an attribute of the object. Now we want to add a method. This screen size that was outputted, we want to see the screen. We want to see it. And for us to be able to see it, since we have imported that module, we should be able to call the method also within it. So the method here will be, we will define a function. Remember I told us that the method aspect of your object are functions. And remember that we have learned how to write functions. So we are going to write a function which will represent the method. I hope you can hear me very well. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see, I'm looking for the right place to. Okay, so we are starting from assessing the object method. Object method. So from that also, we are going to assess one of the method, and what the method will do is to pop up the screen, because we have already assessed the attribute, which is the height of the screen of the object. So, but we want to see it, we want it to pop up, and for it to pop up, we need to access the method. So we will simply write, I'll say my screen dot exit click. So this is a method that is attached to that object that we have imported. So what this will do is that this will pop up a screen and exit it only when we click. Only when we click. So the idea of what we are doing right now, remember that we are still exploring the function, the module that we did not create. So by the time we now get to where we want to start creating our own class from the scratch, you will now know that all this that we are assessing will have been created by you before assessing them. But now it looks as if we don't know how all these methods and all these attributes were created. So I decided to take all this way so that by the time we get to where we want to create our own, you will now understand that when you import a module from Python library, you actually call an entire bucket with what? Several attributes and what? Method that you have to also go and study. So if you are working with a module, just like the way we are working with the turtle now, it becomes our responsibility for whoever wants to use it to build any app to find out what this module is made up of. So one of the way of exploring what this module is made up of is what we are exploring. We have explored the attributes, and then we are exploring what? The method, which is what will trigger an action. Knowing that the attributes talks about what that particular object has, while methods talk about the function of that object. So right now, this particular one is a method that will trigger an action. So if we run it, then we are expected to get a display of the screen that is sized to this 300, and that will only go off when we click. So I will not take this. Okay, let's run it and see. So you see a screen that pop up. So this screen that pop up is as a result of that method that you just added. So which means that you have added a function, which is same as what? A method when we are talking about a Python class. So I hope somebody understand that. Do we understand what just happened now? And I said,
honestly, I'm not clear with this.
Okay. Now, have you followed up to where we stopped last time?
Yes.
Good. You have written your code to this place, right? Where we outputted just the height of the screen.
No.
So you must get to that point before you can actually know what is happening, because we are picking this class from where we stopped. So if you have not mastered that very class, if you have not written your code to where you have these 300 height outputted, then you'll be lost here. So if you look at that particular class, we were talking about, we imported, look at this, from Turtle, we import Turtle class, and what? We imported two classes. We imported the Turtle, we imported what? The screen. And then here, you are not creating an object and storing the screen, which means that we want to do something with that class called what? Screen. So we are saying that the topic is assessing. I thought I wrote the topic here. Maybe I only dictated it. I said the topic is constructing and assessing objects, attributes, and method. So that was the topic that led to this. So here, at this point here, we assess, look at this here, this object screen, we save it in our own object here. So which means that we are saving this class in this object, and then which means that we are printing this object height, which outputted the 300. And I told us that that height that you printed is the object, is the class attribute, It's not the class method. Remember, I use a car to do. I use a car to do an illustration in that very class where I said the car, the speed in that car stands as the function or the method, while the seats and other things inside that car, they are the attributes. So that is why I started by asking if you have executed your code to this place. Then this one that we are adding, we are just assessing a method within the module. So which is normal a little bit to confuse you, because you could be wondering how were all these things created. But from that class, remember that we did a manual one, the one I store, if I could remember, the one I store another module where we created the variable and we assessed it, we imported that module in another file, and then we were able to assess the variable value. So I gave a brief explanation on that so that we can understand what is happening. So what is happening here now is just like when you created that file, when you created this, it's just like when we created this, another variable, and we assign what? 12. And then remember that we now went to, from our main file, when we started here, from our main file, we now imported it to the main file, and then we were able to access the 12 that we stored inside it. So that was to give us a picture of what is happening here now. What is happening here, like this that you just call now, is a function that has been created in the module that you and I does not know anything about. And why are we learning this way? We are learning how to import Python module and explore the attributes and the method in that module. Because when you talk about the advanced aspect of Python, that is what you may likely be doing. When you want to build certain app, you will import the module that has all the attributes and the method you need to build that app. I don't know if I have made sense so far, or if somebody can explain. Mercy, are you getting it?
Yes, I'm following, sir.
So, Brother Yomi, are you catching up now?
Okay, if I may understand what you are saying now, you mean this my exit screen now is the module that you have been created. I mean exitonic log. Exit click, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exit.
Okay, exit to
on
click.
Yes, exit on click. Exit on click. That is it is when you
created
click
that module before.
Yes, good. I am not the one that created it. I am not the one that created it. I said that this module called Total is already built in the Python. It is not the one that, because we will get to the one that will go to Python library to go and call into the IDE. But I just started with this one that is like already made. It's already once you install Python, you already have this module. So what we are learning right now is that, okay, how do we access Python module properties? What someone has programmed and plugged into a module. How do you fetch out the attributes and the method within that module? That is what we are learning. So it is normal for, if you are not following us in that class, it is normal for you to confuse. Because you will not be wondering that, where is this coming from? When was it created? That was the reason why I did a kind of little example of, that is where we now created this file. If you can still remember, I know you were in that class. That's where we created this.
Yes.
And then we came here.
I remember all this.
Good. So that is exactly what is happening now. So just like the way we on our own created this now. So this particular method I just called now has been created. As you imported this now, is already, so we are calling it from another file, which we are not seeing at the moment. So that is what is happening.
All right.
Okay. So let me allow us to implement to this place. So I think it's a very short code, even if you were not in that class. Just quickly start from here, import it. So let's see if you run the code, whether you'll be able to see that screen pop up. Please, for those of us that are here, let's confirm that before we proceed so that we can be on the same page. So once you run it, you should be able to see a pop-up screen like this that can only disappear when you click, because you say exit on click. So let me know once you have implemented it before we proceed. I'm waiting. Okay, so let's see how we can exploit more, how we can access more methods. So I'll just take another example, how we can access more methods from this particular module before we start talking about Python packages properly. So let me take off the whole of this temporarily. Let's access more functions from Turtle module. So let's say we want to change the objects. So we start from importing it first. We start from importing it. So say from Turtle. From Turtle, import. From Turtle, import. I hope you can still remember the one that starts with capital letter. Can somebody tell us? Anyone that starts with capital letter is what? Turtle and screen. Anyone that starts with capital letter represents what again? Sorry, I didn't get you.
Class.
Class, good.
Class.
Yeah. So now, so which means that how many classes we have imported from Turtle now? How many classes? How many classes with this code that I've written now? How many classes? Can you tell how many classes? Two classes. This and what? This. Good. So now we want to store the first class, which is Turtle, in an object. So I can name that object. Let me just name it. Let's say the object, you can give it any name. So let's say the object is this, and then we are storing the object inside it, which is this. Then we have to complete it with the parentheses bracket. Then let me just print it to see what we get. You know, this is not what you manually coded. So you need to find out what that object is. So I'm printing the object. I'm printing the object that is Timmy. I'm just using this. Am I correct? Okay, so I'm printing this object. So if let me stop this code and run it, what do I get? Okay, so I have that screen. You can see that it pop up and it disappear. So so now the next thing I want to do is I want to access the shape, because when we ran that code, look at it, it printed it out actually as Turtle, and it can even show us the location where it is. So the next thing I want to do, I want to access an attribute. I want to access an attribute, which is the shape of that object. So remember, we have saved it as Timmy. So I will just say Timmy dot shape. Timmy dot shape. Timmy dot shape. And then shape of what are you asking for? So I'll put it in a string, which is the Turtle. The Turtle. shape of this. So if I run this, so let's run this and see what we get now that we. So that's also what pop up what the shape. Now, why I have to give it that shape, because we want to give it color, which is we want to give it color as one of the method we want to access. So this one is just like you access the attributes, and then that shape is for to give it color. It means we are accessing another attribute. We are accessing another attribute. Sorry. So we want to dimension that shape. We want to dimension that shape. You want to dimension that shape. So remember, you call the object, let's say Timmy dot Timmy dot. Okay, I wanted to let me put color first. Color. So you can see all these are from the module. All these are from the module. Then the color inside it, I'll say, okay, red. I want it to be red. All right, I want it to be red. So if I run it, so I think let me see, we may need to add that screen so that we can see it properly instead of just displaying and going. So let's just write it. Remember that we have my screen. So let me bring out this from where to where. Let me bring out this because I want to use this attribute. I want to use this attribute. Okay, let me write everything here. So I can just say my screen underscore screen. My screen equals to, remember that we imported, so I'm also storing this class in another object called my screen. So screen, screen. So let me run it and see what I have. Okay, so I have the screen flashed. Let me see. Now, I want to add that height so that we can have it measured. So I can say print, just like what we commented at before. Print my screen. Print my screen. Dot, want to access the attribute dot what can v height, as vertical height. So if I run it, all right, so I have that. And then I need to also between here and here, where do I have it? Here. Let me access the first object, which is Timmy, and dot forward. We have this. So this is going to forward. Let me just put 100. I will explain the whole concept once I've gotten it working perfectly. So the last thing I'm going to write is that my screen, that is, we want to call the method now, dot that exit on click. Exit on click. So let me run it and see what we have. Good. So you can see what happened. So now you notice that movement. That was the forward. That forward, we said it should move from where it was, which was like the center of the entire screen. should move by 100 forward. So that forward is a method. It's a method. So let me click so that it can disappear. Now, what we actually did is that if I change this, okay, let's start from here. So we imported two classes from the objects, from the module Turtle. And then what we did here, we stored the first class into an object, and then we printed it. And then we also define the shape of the turtle. This one is like optional. You can do away with it. Then here we determine the color of the what? The objects, the color of the object. That's why you saw that red there. So if I change it to blue, it's going to change. But let me just explain this first. Then here, if you remove this now, let me remove this so that you take note of where it will be, so you can see the impact of that. So you can see where it is now. It's at the center. So you writing this forward, it means you are writing a function. You are accessing a function within that class that we push it by 100. So let me bring it. So by the time you stop it and run it again, you will notice that it will shift from where it was by 100. So this is just like that car have started moving, as if you have applied what? Some energy or some external forces, and the car started moving by 100. So now, if we want to see the impact, here we access an attribute. This is an attribute because it talks about what it has. So if I change here to like blue now, so that we can understand the communication. So if I come here and change it to blue, and I re-execute the code again, you see that the color have changed. So now we have already explained this concept. So this one you wanted to see the screen, and then here we printed out the height to be that 300, and then here we added a method that says that once the person's click, then before it will disappear. So one of the best way you will know is that like here now, I'll refer to this as a method, not an attribute, because this perform a function by moving it. Why this is another word method. So you can see the difference between how I am accessing the method and the word, the attribute. If you look at the syntax, it's very clear. You can see that this one, can we say this one is a method or attribute? Somebody should reply, let me know. Can we say this is a method or attribute? The one highlighted. Can we say it's a method or attribute?
That one is method.
Okay. What about here? What about here? Is it a method or attribute?
That one too is method.
Okay. So where is the attribute here? Here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's implement to this before we look at. So what I've done so far is that there are other method and attribute. So what you would do is this. If you want to know more about the method and the attribute within this module, you can just go to Python documentation. Because when you start working with this module to build apps, any module, you can just research on, maybe you want to build a particular app, you will now research on the module that has the attribute and the method. That is where you don't want to build all this yourself. So there's a level you know Python to, you can actually decide to sit down and create all this from scratch and be using them. You know, if you are using this attribute, if it happens to be the attribute you created, you will understand it better. But when we talk about the advanced aspects, sometimes there's no point when the task you are given, you have a container that is already holding what you need to build it. So programmers sometimes see that as a way of wasting time. Why would I start creating my function from scratch when I have been told that Python has a module that envelops everything I need? So let's just quickly go to browser and show you how you can actually set, so that you know where we are picking some of these method and attribute from. So if I type Python Turtle documentation. So you see it here, Turtle graphics. So you click, and that will expose to you where all these methods are come from. So it's now left for you to read through the documentation of it. Color control, you can expand this. You can expand. So these are different. You can see just like that within our Turtle.what pen color, that we're going to give you a kind of line color. So there are a lot of documentation. So I just pick those one so that you know where we are calling them from. So you can see this is one of the method we call from that. So there are a lot of them here. So any particular module you are working on, you need to, Python has documentation for it. That is the beauty of Python. And that is why it's so fast, because it has a bunch of libraries and modules that are where things have been programmed for you to just look at while you are solving your own problem. All right, so let me allow us to quickly get to this place, and then what we'll be looking at is just execute this and let me get a reply that you have gotten it, then we move forward. All right, so that is just to give us hints on how you can import or work with Python module. Now we want to go want to look at Python packages. So let's write here, because I just want to introduce us to it. We'll continue from the topic that we'll still continue from in our next meeting. So let's just write Python packages. Python packages. Now that we have an idea of modules or objects, let's look at Python packages. So how do we define Python packages? We can say Python package or packages are collections of modules. So we just finished talking about module. Collection of module which are pre-written code. So we should know that. That is what I was trying to picture the other time, which are pre-written code that provide additional functionality. Let me break it here. That provide additional functionality. Right, so that is the simple definition of Python packages. So like I was saying the other time, you need to get to a point where you are developing application, particularly advanced application, is for you to have idea of different packages, different modules, different packages, different modules. So because depending on the app you actually want to develop. So once you do your research, okay, I want to create maybe like an ATM machine, just like we are going to do in one or probably the last aspect of the last class. We'll now look for a module that has all the attributes, all the methods that can enable us to create that application easily. And that is the reason why I am introducing this package, so that we know that, oh, programming in Python, you can decide to leverage on packages like we just defined. Now, packages are collection of modules. So we just access one module now, which is what? Turtle. So imagine where you have bunch of them, that becomes a package. Even in the data analytics, it's the same packages that gives us access to different module, and this module gives us access to different functions that we use. The same thing in web development, and that same thing cut across almost every aspect of technology that involve Python. So that is why if you use Python in a particular area, let's say in web development or in data analytics, you should be able to know the associated packages that constitute the module that you need to access these pre-written codes. So the key takeaway there is that these packages are a collection of what? Modules. And this module, they are like individual container or object that comes with attribute and what? Method, which arrives in the class. So let's quickly look at the key point here. The key point here, I want to just highlight the benefits of these packages. The benefits of these packages. Why does programmer actually what? Prefer working with Python packages instead of creating their own module with their functions? That is what these key points we expose to us. So key points about Python packages. So number one is that packages can be reused, or let's say they are reusable code. Let me put it in comments. They are reusable. They are reusable code. They are reusable code. So which means that they can be shared and reused, just like that was exactly the background we're trying to establish with all this. You can see the way we are reusing the module that has been created in the program. Then another key attribute of Python packages and modules is that they are organized. They are organized. They are organized, which means that they are group. They are group, or they have group related modules, which means they have group related modules. They have group related modules. So another key point or key feature of Python packages and module is that easy to install. Easy to install. Easy to install. So at this point now, we will not be installing. You can say that we did not install the Turtle because that Turtle has already been installed alongside with your IDE PyCharm. So, but the level we are going to now is where we will now be installing these packages into our project before we can access the attributes and the method, just like the way we were accessing the one of Turtle. So I said what? Easy to install. Easy to install. And when you are installing, we use a keyword called what? Pipe. So you see all using pipe now. Whenever you are installing packages, you will always write pipe, then followed by the name of the package. All right. So which means Python, Python package. So anytime you see a programmer using Python, writing pipe, it means he or she is installing Python packages or package. Right. So example of this, let's just quickly look at some few example of these packages. So you can now see the reason why I said, yes, this training is pure Python, but after this entire training, if you want to go into data analytics or machine learning or data science, you will now see that most of these module packages that I'm talking about will be repeated there. Then it will have given you a foundation, strong word for that matter. Now, example, we have like NumPy. So this NumPy is a Python package which is used to read or to exploit large data sets and be able to frame it in a way that you can understand the data, that is columns and row. So for those of us in data analytics, we use this NumPy. They will also have Pandas, is another Python package. So I'm just listing them for you to know what is called package. So if you come across anybody using them, or probably you are learning data analytics or data science or any other program that involve this, you know that, oh, these are packages. And like we just defined, packages are collection of modules. And like we also defined previously, modules, they are like what? They are like container with classes. All right? They are container with classes and objects. That is why this topic is object-oriented programming, where you work with classes, and then the classes now have the attributes and the method, where we said that the attributes are what the object has, and the method are the functions of that, or what the object does. So these are just few examples of the Python packages. So now let's say we want to create a table. What do I mean by that? Let's say you want to write code that will give you this format. This is a format that we are all familiar with. We refer to this as table. So I'm just using this to tell you why you should depend on Python package based on this project. You want to create this, probably that we have maybe colon name. Colon name will be here, and then probably maybe ID. It might just be a table of just two a column like this, just two columns. Now, instead of you bothering yourself writing Python code from scratch just to develop this format, you can involve a package. So that package means, like I said, the keyword there, pre-written code. So which means that someone have written this code before, and the person has uploaded it in what? Python library. So which means that if I want to create a table, maybe in my project, I will just think of, okay, I know that Python has a module or a package that constitutes the attributes and the method that makes up the object. So the example we are going to do is that I'm going to just show us how you can download, how you can find how you can look for a package, and how you can download it, and how you can call it here, and then before you import it. So that is the only aspect we are going to look at in this section. So that in the next section, we will start exploring just like the way we have been exploring the one of that total. So now the steps that we did not observe while working with that total is that we did not download it, because the total is not an external module or package. It's a package that has already been installed alongside with your IDE. So you cannot stop there, because if you stop there, there are other apps you may want to develop that the packages you need, the modules you need, must have not been installed. So in that case, you will not use Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me? Please confirm. Please confirm if you can hear me before I proceed. Mr. Ayome and Mercy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, like I was saying, the last aspect of tonight's session is, okay, now that we have learned how to explore an existing module within the IDE, what about if I'm developing an app that require me, bringing a module, an external module, integrating it in my project before I can access those methods, those attributes? How do we go about it? So, like the illustration I gave before the timeout is that, let's say we want to create that table, and I don't want to start writing code from scratch to create that table structure. So I have an idea of a Python package, which is called what? Pretty Table. There are so many packages, all right? So I can say, okay, I want to download it. So let's quickly start writing the steps. This same step that I'm going to show us now should be used to download and install any module that you can think of. So it's not as if I'll continue to teach us, except in the course of the training, we need another module. I will not go through it, but just know that these steps I want to give you, they are the standard steps you are expected to follow whenever you want to install or download an external module and integrating it in your IDE. So let's start looking at that. So like I said, let's say we want to create a table of two columns and probably of 3 rows. How do we, instead of us, because ordinarily, if we want to create it manually, I think I should just take us through that so that you know the manual step that you will have followed to an extent if you do not want to depend on the package. So for example, you will have been doing something like this. So if I come here now, I say print, and then I create a string, and inside that string, I do a pipe. I believe you know what is called pipe. Pipe is this slash. All right, so I do a pipe, and then I say, okay, let's say column name. And then I do another pipe. Remember that you are still inside the string. I do another pipe, and then I can now say this pipe is, let's say, for type. So each pipe is to introduce a heading. Each pipe is to bring in a heading. So this is one heading. So if I want to create another pipe, another heading, I will also do what? Pipe, then followed by the name of that heading. So if I run this code now, if I run this code, let's just see what we get. So what I'm trying to show is that instead of you going this way, you can just consult Python package that have all this created for you. So look at what happened. I think this point, good. So you can see it here. You can see it. So you were able to create 2 columns. Now, if I want to create record under it, I will now do something like this, print. I will now do something like this, also create a string. And then for now, maybe I don't have a record. I will just put dash, 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 dash. So if I go back and run it, for example, you see that once I click and this one goes, you see that I will now create pipe again. So which means that if I want to create record under this, so this one will now be maybe Prosper, and then I'll do pipe again. I'll do pipe. Under type, I will say, okay, mail. All right. So if I run it, I'm just trying to give us a picture of what you will have done if just to create a tabular structure to hold certain information. But you don't need all this because we have packages within Python where someone have once developed the table structure. Yours is just to go there, install, download that package, install it, and then you begin to call the attributes and the method, and then you end up having the structure. It's just like a template, right? So now let's look at the steps on how to download and install external module. And once we have done that, that will bring us to the end of this section. The next section will start assessing, just like what we did. We start assessing the attributes and the method within the installed module. So your first step is for you to go to a website. Your first step is for you to go to a website. Anytime you want to search for Python module, there is a website where all the modules are. So it's just for you to know the URL to go to that website. So just kindly type www. Make sure you note down all this. As a Python programmer, you will always work with packages. You cannot avoid it. So www.py like this, pypy.org. So this website will take us to where we have Python packages. So you can see it now. So this is where you can actually access Python packages. All right. So you can decide to create an account so that all your previous search can be documented, just like ChatGPT. If you use it without an account, if you search for something now, the next time you come, you cannot find it. But if you use it with an account, you can always access the history of your search. So that is the advantage. So you can decide to register, or you can just go ahead and search for a package. And you are searching for the package because you are currently handling a project. That is why it is referred to as project. So this is just like someone project and the person uploaded it here. So you are just going there to import the function, everything the person have created, and then you use them to modify your own. So the first step, you go to the browser and search for to search for that particular URL. Remember, note it down. Then what are we searching for? We want to create a table. So I want to search for pretty table. Pretty table. So I'll just say pretty table. Pretty table. Pretty table. So if I search, let's see. Okay, so you can see pretty table. So you can see that we have a lot of repository here regarding to that. So this is a clean, simple TUI table generator with what? Auto alignment. We have a pretty HTML table, and then we have a pretty, they are in different category, and then so you can just choose anyone you want to work with. So let's see, let's just glance through them, see what we have. So what I'm trying to do is to study the documentation. Anyone that you can see, this particular website has pages ranging from 1 to 500. So if the one you are looking for does not fall among the ones in the first page, you go to page 2. So this is how, when you are handling a project, you can come and search for. So let me go to page 1 and open one of them and see what we have there. So you can, these are information about what the framework, different platform where it was used, then the license, the development status, the operating system, the environment, all these additional information. So let me just search for pretty table printer, a collection of utility for turning list of dictionary into nice formatted plain text table. Let me look for this one. Okay, 2-dimensional. Okay, let me choose this. So you click on this, and then you can see these are the function. You can see that these are the functions. Just like the way we were accessing those information, Mr. Yomi was asking that where was those exits or click was coming from. So once we download it, you can see the functions that have been created, which ordinarily you will have been the one to manually create. So this is from the documentation. You will know, you have an idea of what has been pre-written for you as a programmer. So now once you check it and you see that the format is good, then you can now download the file. You can now download the file. So you click on download file. I hope you are writing your steps. So look at it here. Download this file. Download file for your platform if you are not sure which to choose. Learn more about installing. So if you click here, you can just right click here and select open in a new tab just to understand. So any package you are downloading, one good thing about Python is that you have enough documentation that explain how you can install it, how you can work with it. So just for you to, all those information will always be provided, right? So let's say you are having issue with that and you want to know, okay, how do I, what is required to install this, which version, and all of that. So you can come here and check installing. And let's read through, say what this section cover the basis of how to install Python packages. It is important to notice or to note that the term package in this context is being used to describe a bundle of software to be installed. All right, so synonym for it is for a distribution. It does not refer to kind of package, whatever requirement, whatever for installation this section described. So you can now go through it. But let's go back to this and see if we have been able to download it. So now verify detail. I'll check if my download, I think it will have downloaded. So let me check my download history if I have it there. No, download has not. Okay, so let me view the details of this one. Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah, that is it. So I think it's downloaded now. So this is it here. Now, it downloaded as a zip file. So which means that you have to learn how to unzip. So the one you are going to install should be the unzip copy. Of course, whatever you download, always know that you can access it from your system, your window download folder. So we go to download, we should be able to find it there. Now you have to have any of these unzip program. Like mine, I have WinRAR, but if you don't have WinRAR, I think every window has a default unzip program. So in this case, I will just right click. I want to copy it to a folder before I do the unzipping, fine. But I just want it to be here, so I will just right click and select what? Extract file. So I just want to get the extracted one. So it is that extracted one that I will load in my IDE, not the way it came as a zip file. That is the pointer I'm registering. Because anyone you download will always come as a zip file. So now it's asking me to, I will just say, okay, this is where it's going to unzip it, and I will also have it in this directory. That's what it means. So if for any reason I want to unzip it to a different folder, then I will change the URL. But let me go with this, and then I click, it unzips. So I have it here. So once you can see it like this, so you can see different files that are inside. So it is this folder that you will now, it is this folder that you will now, it is this folder that you will now call into your IDE. I hope that step is clear first before I take us how we can call it into our IDE. Please confirm if the steps on how we downloaded it and unzip it, if they are clear. If you can as well do it alongside, I can give you a few minutes. Because this is one thing you must know. If you don't know this, if you can't work with Python packages, you'll be limited. There are a lot of things you cannot do. Please, I need a response if you can hear me.
I hear you.
Yes, sir. I'll make reference to the video when I want to download it on my system.
Okay, all right. So now that we have, let's look at steps on how to install it. What we have done is just download, we have only downloaded it. How do we now install it? So you go to your IDE. Remember, after you have unzip it, you go to your IDE. So let me create a different project. I don't want to import it here. So I've taught us how to create a new project. So you just go to a new project and then give it a name. So let's say Python packages. All right, then you click on the so I will just choose give me a new window. All right, so once you get here, wait for it to initialize properly. So since I asked for a new window, that is why I'm trying to prepare the environment. So let's give it some time. What is he saying? Okay, so let me clear all this. Okay, so once you have your file, you can decide to create another file. You know that once you create a Python, once you create Python environment, once you create Python environment, trying to check something, please. Okay. Okay, so so the next thing we are going to do is to open that file, the unzip file. So you go to File while you are in your project, and then you select what? Open. So once you select Open, and then you will have to search for where do you have that file. Remember that it was downloaded in a particular folder. What is the folder? So this is desktop. Let's see the directory where we store that file. Let's look for download. Where can I find my download? I should be able to see. I'm looking for download. How come I download? Because I know we have it here. We downloaded it to download folder, so we should be able to see there. Okay, let me see. Okay, we should be able to see it here. That is on download. Okay, so download. Yeah, this is it. Then you click OK. So now, once you are able to find it, and you click, now there's a kind of security check, and PyCharm, this previous feature that may execute malicious code from this folder. So if you don't trust the source, preview the project in the save mode to only browse its code. So this is seeking for security attention. This is just like if you do not trust where you are getting it from. So that is why it is always ideal that you download your packages from the right source, because this process, if you are not getting it from the Python official website, like that one we visited, you might stand the chance of contacting virus within your system. So now I will just click on, let me assume I'll click on trust. Okay, so you can see that what all those files inside it automatically we now have them here. I hope it's clear. So you can open them and see what you have under each of them. If I double click on you can see the bunch of code that has been pre-written, like we define it to be. So imagine you want to just to create that pretty table. You are now to develop that app that will give you that table structure. Look at the code ordinarily you will have written. And that is what you have been able to access automatically. So let me check this one. This is the setup. Any question? So this same process is what you need to go through anytime you want to download and install Python packages into your development environment. So like I told us that we stop here. So the next class will start assessing the attributes and the method that will give us that tabular structure. But let me ask if you have any question. So before the next class, you should have gone through the video and make sure that you have been able to download, install the package right in your development environment. Do we have questions? If you can hear me, that's if the network is not really smooth. I can see that my image is a kind of freezing. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So we are stopping here. Mr. Yomi, can you hear me? I hope you understand the assignment.
I'll refer back to the video, sir.
Okay. All right. Good night. So see you in the next section. I think the class will not go because next Sunday is Easter Sunday. So I'm not certain. I think we'll observe a 1 week break before we resume back for the remaining classes. All right. Good night, everyone. Since you can hear me.
Sir.
All right.